Hello, sixth graders, and welcome to 6.1. And this, in lesson one, we'll be discussing data collection and analysis. And specifically for the first lesson here, we'll be talking about mean, median, mode, and range. So first, we'll start by defining each one of these. The mean is the sum of the items. Remember, sum means the answer to everything added up. The sum of the items in a set of data divided by the number of items in the set. Divided by the number of items in the set. More commonly, mean is referred to as the average. So I'll put AKA, which stands for also known as the average. When you hear somebody talk about the average, what they mean is the mean. Everything, all of your data added up and then divided by how many data points you're calculating there is how you find the average. And we'll get some practice on how to do that. Okay, the median, kind of is what it sounds like, is the middle value, or the average of the two middle values in an ordered set of data. So what that means is basically you line up your numbers from smallest to largest, and whatever's in the middle, that would be considered your median. Or if there's two numbers that are in the middle, then you just take the average of those two numbers. And we'll see an example like that here shortly. The mode is the value that occurs the most frequently. The value that occurs the most frequently and when all numbers occur an equal number of times, the data has no mode. So if equal, I'll put then no mode. Again, I'll show you that in an example. I know there's an example here coming up. And lastly, the range is the difference between the least and greatest values in a data set. Okay, so you subtract your biggest number and your lowest number, and that gives you the range. All right, let's get some practice with a bunch of this and see how it comes. It's a little bit wordy when you look at it like that, but I think you'll catch on rather quickly. So the first example wants us to find the mean. Remember, the mean is like the average. And to find the average, you add up all of your data points. And for our example here, we're looking at the depths of puddles. And you add up all of your data points, and then you divide by how many there are. So in this case, they want us to start by writing the data in numerical order, so lowest to greatest or least to greatest. You don't have to do this, but sometimes it makes your data a little bit easier to follow. So we have a 1, we have a 2, we have a 3, we have a 4, 5, another 5. Notice how I list 5 twice, and then an 8. So technically, you don't have to do this when you're finding the average, but it just makes it a little bit neater to organize, essentially. Okay, so I just like to slash out those so then I can keep track of which ones I wrote down. All right, so let's find the average. Let's add up all of the different values and then divide by how many there are. Okay, 1 plus 2 is 3, plus another 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10, 15, 20, 28 is the total of all the values added together. Okay, again, we had to add all the values. And then we need to divide by how many there are. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total values. So 28 divided by 7, or 7 values, gives us 4. Okay, again, we had to divide the sum, which is 28, by the number of items or values. So the mean is 4 inches. The average depth of the puddles would be considered 4 inches. All right, let's try another one that's very similar to that. Same directions, find the mean of each set of data. Again, they're looking for the average in this problem. All right, find the average. Let's add up our different values. And again, they like to start by writing the data in numerical order. You'll see why they do this in the next example, because when you're trying to find median, it can be helpful. So it's just good practice to do it here. So it'd be 7, 75, 84, and then 96 is my greatest, going least to greatest. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good, I have 4 values here. Add them up is the second step. So add all the values. 75 plus 7 plus 84 plus 96 would give you 262. And then divide the sum by the number of items. And again, there was 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 items. So if we take 262, a little long division practice for us, divide by 4. 4 goes into 26 6 times. 6 times 4 would be 24. Subtract, would be left with 2. Bring down my next number. 4 goes into 22 5 times, which would be 20. Subtract, I'd get 2. I have nothing else to bring down, so I need to add a decimal and an imaginary 0. And then 4 goes into 25 times. So 65.5. The mean is 65. The average is 65.5 points is what we were talking about. All right, that's how to find the average. Next, we'll look at all of the other types of data that you could gather and that we're looking for here. We're going to add to the average or the mean, median, mode, and range. And I'll show you how those work. So first off, they're kind of breaking it down or doing the first step for you a little bit since we've worked with that. They're taking the mean or the average, so they're adding up the different car wash totals. And 6th grade had 12, 7th grade had 11, 8th grade had 14, and 9th grade had 15. So they're adding up the totals there, 12, 11, 14, and 15, and dividing by, well, there's 4 sets of data there. So if you were to do 12 plus 11 plus 14 plus 15 and divide that by 4, you would come up with 13 for the average. And if you look at our data, that makes sense. Our data points are 11 and 12 and 14 and 15. And if you if you think about our numbers here, really they're all around 13. They really would average out to 13. If you're not thinking about doing any math here, all these numbers are close to 13. That makes sense that is the average, right? Next, it wants us to write it in numerical order. So like I just did here, 11, 12, 14, and 15. And we're going to look for the median. Remember, that's the middle point. And so how you find the middle is you just cross off at each end. Cross off the smallest and biggest and work your way towards the middle. And you'll see here that here's my middle 2 numbers. It's not just one number, it's actually 2 numbers. And since there's an even number of items, you find the mean of the two middle values. Well, really, it's not that hard because what's in between 12 and 14? Well, that's 13. But to find the mean, or the median, you'd do, or sorry, did I mess that up here? Does it say that in here? Oh, it looks like 11, 12. This should actually say 14. Looks like the book made a mistake here. Our data points, right? 11, 12, 14, and 15. 11, 12, and they have 13 there. That looks like a mistake on their part. I wonder if you caught that as well. But what's in between 12 and 14, the middle of that would be 13. So if you find the mean, 12 plus 14 would give you 26, and 26 divided by 2, since there's 2 data points, would give you 13. So actually, this should be 13 for the median. All right, moving on to the mode. Hopefully the book did this one right. The mode is what occurs the most. Well, you'll see here there's no numbers that are repeated. So in that case, we would say none, because they all occur once. Now, if we had data like 10, 10, 11, 15, and 16, the mode would be 10 because 10 occurs twice and each other number occurs once. And lastly, the range, remember, is the difference between your greatest number and your smallest number. So our greatest number is 15. Our smallest number was 11. So 15 minus 11 would give you 4 for the range. All right, so putting it all together, the mean, or the average, that we found was 13. The median that we found was the same thing. The median is also 13. There is no mode, and the range then is 4. So those are all our final answers here. Okay. Have any questions about that? Please come see me and let me know. Moving on then to, looks like we're to the check it out section. So why don't you pause here and try these ones out on your own. All right, for the mean for number 1, we'd have to add up our data points. So 1 plus 2 plus 10 plus 2 plus 5 plus 6 plus 9 will give you 35. So the sum would equal 35. And you need to divide that by how many there are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 divided by 7 would give you 5. And what are we talking about? Rainfall per month. Our average, or our mean, would be 5 inches per month. That's quite a bit of rain. And then the last one, it wants mean, median, mode, and range, all of those. So mean, or the average, add our numbers up. So 53 plus 26 plus 47 plus 12 would give you a total. So the sum of our data would equal 138. Divided by, there's 4 data points here. So divided by 4, the mean would equal 34.5. And we're talking about vacation days. So put days. So the average amount of vacation days is 34.5. The median now, so now for our median, remember, we have to list our numbers smallest to largest. So 12, 26, 47, and 53. Okay, so cancel out our top 2, and then again, we've got 2 numbers in the middle. We need to find the average of these 2. So 26 plus 47 divided by, well, there's 2 numbers there. So 26 plus 47 would give us 73. And that divided by 2 would give you 36.5. So the median would give you, this is the median, would give you 36.5 days. Pretty close to the mean. The mode, which of these occurs the most? None. There are no repeated numbers here. And the range, remember, that is the difference between our greatest number and our smallest number. So 53 minus 12 would give you your range. So 53 minus 12 will give you 41. And again, the label would be days. All right. That does it for the first lesson here on mean, median, mode, and range. Please see me if you have more questions, and I will see you next time.